Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host. I have my moderators next to me, and thank you for joining me on this week. For those who don't know this channel, Monday through Friday, we take a subject, we talk about it all week long, and today is Monster Monday. Now, I understand that as this episode is being broadcast, that this isn't quite Monday, but thematically it actually fits with the subject that we are going to talk about. So we're going to talk about twins and everything related to twins. Duplicates. We're going to talk about the subject of copies and doppelgangers and all things in between. And the reason why is because whatever subject we talk about this week, talking about twins, we take that and subdivide it because each day represents a particular subject or thematic element. We have Monster Monday, Discord Tuesday, World Building Wednesday, Third Pillar of Exploration Thursday, and Future Friday. So on Monster Monday, we're going to talk about NPCs and monsters and how we can use the idea of twins for good or bad. Now, on far earlier this week, before this Monday came back around, second time around, we talked about TV tropes and the idea of how there's so many, both comedic and horror and action and hell, even in video gaming and comic books and things, about how twins are utilized in those realms. And I think we could pull from it. So when it comes to NPCs in your group, one really simple way why you would even want to include twins is because maybe you just had a great idea and you want to use that idea again. So place it in your world. It is a great way to set up an expectation with an NPC. You've got a great character voice, a background. Maybe the player characters have some kind of intense connection with the NPC for good or bad. Maybe the NPC makes a great adversary or a great ally, or is integral to a player character's background, and you just want to be able to utilize this character again. So you make them a biological twin to the other. An adversary or enemy of their characters. Adversary could be, say, someone of the same Knight's Order, but thinks that the policies are wrong or their tactics are wrong. That would be an adversary. Hey, Rickard. Hey, everyone. An adversary doesn't necessarily want the death and destruction of the player character, but might be at odds philosophically or bureaucratically or something of that nature, and makes it even worse when there are, I don't know, twin politicians or twin nobles or twin agents in a thieves guild or something of that nature. So again, it doubles the effectiveness, and maybe you had a great piece of artwork you've created, or you have, I don't know, maybe the excuse is you have two figurines that you've painted similarly, and you want an excuse for why both of them are on the battle mat or something like that. And sure, why not? Now, yeah, Rickard's like, we doing twin monsters again? Well, we when this episode was first aired, it kind of got a little bit foobarred. So we are broadcasting again because the first one basically didn't broadcast at all. So we are going to repeat what we did before. We're going to twin this episode. Yeah. So another reason why you might want to make enemies as twins, and I think this is far greater, is that you make twice the effectiveness. Hell, we went so far as to talk about twin liches having each other's phylacteries, and what a kick in the genitals that goes to the player characters when they're like, "Yeah, we destroyed the phylactery. The lich is dead." The lich just looks down at the destroyed phylactery like, No. Someone posted in the comment section, like, could you imagine Siamese twin liches? And if they are split, Siamese twinning can happen in various ways and manners, but imagine them split at the waist, where they're split into two people at the waist. You have a lich that can cast twice as many spells, twice as intelligent, with twice as much power, maybe doubling up on those hit points or something like that. Pretty brutal, considering I believe liches can already cast double spells. I guess that would they'd be a quadcaster or something. That's pretty dangerous. But there are also there's some gotcha moments. Twin dragons, twin ettins, twin shadows, or twin demons, or celestials, or something you might want to add in. There's a Steven Seagal movie where he's fighting against like some kind of a Haitian criminal, and the rumor was him got two head and four eye, and you come to find out at the end of the movie that there really were twins. So you can play that up quite a bit, but there may be something philosophical in your world for twins. That there is a greater omen, twin hags casting spells, or twin warriors that are far better. They are greater than the sum of their parts, working together in tandem. Maybe they have a greater ability to do a thing, much like the classic cult needing to get together to do a ritual. They need so many members. Maybe it takes two enemies to do a thing that individually, stat block wise, they are unable to do. Like the Super Friends, when the twin black dragons get together, maybe they are able to become a gestalt type of creature, or summon an impenetrable darkness that cannot be dispelled, or they're able to transform the landscape, or maybe they aren't normally spellcasters themselves, but you've given them some greater ability that when they work in tandem, maybe their acidic spray becomes a living ooze that rolls and roils in the background of the encounter, and the player characters understand if they separate the two or take out one, that these living oozes will alleviate and not be a threat or something. So puzzle monstering, using twins as puzzle monstering is a thing. Thank you to Discords. Wonder Twin powers activate. I'll take the form of a kangaroo, and I'll take the form of a pail of water. Anyway, Rickard says, well, what happens in that case? Do you have two phylacteries? And how does that work? Does only half of the body regenerate if you manage to destroy one of the phylacteries? Hey, look, man. The complication itself, I think, is a wondrous thing with Siamese twin liches. What? I don't know. Yeah. Rickard says each of the twin displacer beasts shares each other's sight so they can track their prey better. Yeah, I could see that. Twin displacer beasts being able to, well, triangulate isn't exactly the proper term for it, but yeah, they're able to see through the other's eyes. We talked about even doing that with player characters, where one player character has an arcane link with their twin counterpart, so they feel what the other feels, maybe see and hear what the other hears. Yeah, absolutely. And maybe, just maybe, you might want to incorporate something like this to bolster your big bad, right? Maybe there's a vampire lord who the player characters want to trounce the vampire lord, who happens to have an ally, their own twin, that comes in to save the day. Now, mind you, you might want to be careful with the Deus Ex Machina kind of thing, where, oh, there happens to be page flip, panic, panic, panic. There's two dragons instead of one. You don't want to. You would want to foreshadow this into the world long before the player characters are involved in it, even if it means dropping hints like they go to the tavern and there's twin table servers, and they go to the Twin Mountains, and their guides are twins, and uh, there's a hunter with two identical dogs or something. I mean, you could even layer it that way rather than hitting him in the head with the clue stick. Like, oh, the locals say they believe there's two dragons that live up in the mountain, and the PC's like, ha ha ha, that makes no sense. you know, um, let's see. The Yeah, Rickard says you try to sneak up on one of the beasts, but their twin can see you. So now the one you were trying to sneak up on can see you as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, if you want to modify or grant some kind of advantage that normally a singular creature wouldn't have, being not like the Etten, you can't sneak up on an Etten because as one head sleeps, the other one's awake. The same thing could happen with creatures that are linked together. We even talked about the idea of not necessarily having identical twins, but being linked together in their function or something. So, if you have a beholder linked with its mind controlled, or mind flayers controlling their legions of slaves, there's a link right there. But since we are talking about twins, one feeling and seeing and experiencing what the other is is a good tactic, as well as even the one dragon drawing out adversaries while the other dragon is hiding using a spell or something, knowing that the adventurers are going to come into their cavern. So one sleeps, the other stays awake. So they can never be surprised or something. Yeah, yeah. So Rickard goes on to say, so instead of you sneaking up on them, that one just lures you in and can pounce at you at the opportune moment as its twin stalks up behind you. Yep, exactly. So the sleeping, you think you're sneaking up on one displacer beast, the other one sees you hidden away. The one you think you're sneaking up on is ready to pounce on you because they know you're sneaking up on them. Yet the other twin, who you can't see, is trapping you in, which basically draws you in, and now you're like, dup, you're you thought you were wrong, but you were mistaken, right? Yeah, Scott Poe's like clever girl. Yeah. Um, so yes, there is this idea of maybe culturally it makes a lot of sense that there are twins, much like we've seen many times in our intellectual properties. The evil messenger or the evil person comes into town and makes big grand threats to whoever lives there, with the caveat that if you do something to me, something else will happen far away elsewhere. And yes, you could have a fiendish beast arrive, or a sphinx, or a hag, or a naga, or something come into town unmolested, knowing that whatever happens to the one, the other will instantly know, and destroy, kill, torture the MacGuffin that's miles or kilometers away, held in a fortress or something. Which would, I mean, you could. A lot of players will go ham. They'll just go, hard as a mofo on the one that's in front of them, and not give a damn what's going to happen on the outside. But if they have some buy-in, some immersion, they might let the big bad go that's in front of them, understanding that the forging of the ring or the kidnapping of the princess and all the other stereotypical tropes, they will literally be the cause of the bad guy winning if they raise a hand to the bad guy who walks in and leaves the city unmolested, right? Um, Also, again, whatever kind of, you guys know me, I love using the environment. And a lot of times you'll have like chaos storms or earthquakes or creeping darkness or some other kind of layered effect in and around the community. Harvests have died, the land becomes desecrated or whatever. And so that could be a side effect. It becomes something in your toolbox where you can pull it out and go, well, it's continual darkness. The sun never rises, or magic's being drained from the world, or all food and water becomes spoiled. So your good berry, create food and water, etc., do not work any longer until you alleviate this thing. And that may be the reason is because the twins have come together, and it's more, it's both narrative and and also a mechanical thing you can put in your back pocket by having the twin hags work together, you know. And sure, is it in a stat block? No, but you're creating a more dynamic, more memorable, and maybe even a more hazardous world to incorporate your big bads in there. Now, Rickard goes on to say, turning it around, two twin big bad guys, where one is trying to stop their other twin from doing the real evil thing, but being twins is the nice twin is ruthless as well. Only in and ends. Oh, only in ends justifies the means sort of way. Yeah, I mean, here's another way for you to an excuse for you. Let's say you have a really great. Let's go back to the Black Dragon, right? And you just happen to love Black Dragons for some real weird reason, and you know your players are going to open up a can of whoop ass on the Black Dragon, and you're like, man, but I really would like to use this Black Dragon again. You know, having the Tesla's like the Punisher's evil twin is the Punisher's evil twin is the good guy? Is good and just? I don't know. But yeah, you could have this thing like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, where look, I'm down with my twin, but I'm not that down. You know, the we've seen this before with protagonists and antagonists, and everyone's wondering why the protagonist is not really game to stop the antagonist. And of course, it's revealed they're my brother or sister. They're related to me. We served in the same military forces. Damn it. Fold arms, pout. I'm going to have to stop them, and I'm going to need someone to help me stop them. And heck, they're just as powerful as I am. You know, Superman's, Bizarro enemies is the opposite of Superman. So, you know how powerful Superman is? Very easy to say, to incorporate into, mechanically, well, they're the twin. We need to help one of the twins. We know how powerful this one twin is that we're working with. That means the other one is just as capable. And you can also dangle the idea of a double cross against the player characters as well. That kind of thing. Gork and Mork reminds me of the far more brutal version of Heatmaster and Cold Master, Heat Miser and Cold Miser. I'm Mr. Eat Miser. I'm Mr. 101. Equal and opposites work as well when it comes to twinning something. It was used in lots of Greek and Roman mythology. That's how we isn't that how we have seasonal changes, or is that where someone goes down into the underworld for 6 months and then comes back or something? I think that's the underworld story. But anyway, you get my point, right? The jinn versus the Ifrit, the Efrit conflict is an equal and opposite thing as well, especially when they, in some kind of way, shape, or form, are considered to be twins amongst themselves. Yeah, and like Tesla says, black and gray morality is a thing where one twin isn't necessarily good, but doesn't want to see the demise of their twin, and there's always what is it, the criminal crime stories. There's always that one person that goes into the bank, wants to shoot up a whole bunch of innocents, where everyone else is like, please don't start killing people. And no, they don't want to turn them over to the authorities, but at the same time, they know they have their psycho brother or sister who is, running rampant with guns and whooping and hollering as they're shooting at the cops while the other one is doing a face plant. Like, oh, really? So you could have a lot of fun with that. And going back to the Black Dragon thing, sure, the player characters may get a Black Dragon ally to defeat the other Black Dragon, who now the Black Dragon ally they thought they had is regretting the decision in the first place, and then you get the second time around. So, same as the first, right? It's the it now the second one gets to have some fun with the first one. Yep, Planescape's chaotic evil demons versus lawful evil devils is a great. What is it? The Blood War, where there are like equal opposite counterparts. I suppose you could even make that a triumvirate with Celestials, especially if you want to attest to the closer biblical form of it, where there are fallen angel, where fiends are literally fallen angels. You could change that in your world where there are twin like or equal opposite counterparts, so that for every celestial that that there's a reason why the angels don't. Okay, aside, sometimes we'll read through some of our gaming mechanics and we'll go like, okay, they have solars and planetars and they're in a war with fiends and devils, and then you start scratching your head like, well, if all these things plus gold dragons are running around doing good things, where are they doing this at? Because they have the power to like sneeze and literally warp our landscape. Like, where are they doing these things? Are they doing these on other planes of existence? Are they doing battle on the first level of the nine hells? Like, where are they going? Yep. And Dead Man brings up the lawful good angels and the chaotic good archons. Yeah. So where's all this happening? But maybe one of the excuses in the battle of the eternal battle of good and evil, or the eternal blood war, is to use proxies, player characters, in these battles, because they know that they're up against their equal and opposite, and especially if they have some kind of feelings. I mean, imagine a Baylor or a Pit Fiend still has feelings for one of their loved ones that lives in the upper planes, right? You could very easily incorporate something like that, just as you can give an evil streak to an angel that's ready to wipe out the lives and or souls of their parishioners and their true believers, to go after one evil entity. Maybe there's something good still, just a kernel of good left in some of these evil outer world entities. Could you imagine a Pit Fiend besieging one of the player characters as a proxy to have a celestial being released from the abyss that's been held down there and tortured for generations, because that used to be one of their loved ones when they were all together as one before the shaping of the worlds? That's a great excuse right there to bring in the player characters into a situation to go into the pits of hell to do something good, while yet a warlock's patron or a clerical, message from the divine, woke them up in night sweats or something like that, or some kind of organization is like, hey, this is really strange, but I believe it. The wizard summoned this evil entity and is like begging us to help them, but not to save their own lives, to be free from the pentagram, but to save one of their loved ones, or something like that. That's bizarre. Then maybe a paladin steps forward and looks the demon in the eye or devil in the eye, and it's like, you better be telling the truth, because if you are, this might be the foothold that the good and just paladin is able maybe to save the soul of a pit fiend or whatever by going on a mission to save their loved one. And maybe this is just the way to do it. Could be a pretty good story to do that. Now, remember, we don't necessarily have to have exact twins, right? There are plenty of creatures in our own in classic Dungeons and Dragons we can play with, much like doppelgangers and Rakshasa. Most of our shape changers who want to be like someone else, and heck, you could have a secret admirer monster that has an addiction to one of the player characters over a distance, portraying themselves as one of the or more of the protagonists in your story. Could you imagine I don't know, some other shape changing, spell casting, illusion, or polymorphing creature who isn't out to destroy the lives of the player characters, but to help them out. But it's like, please don't help me. Your help is doing more harm than good. Much like fey creatures would fit well into this. Maybe there are someone wants to immortalize one of the player characters and starts like dressing like them, acting like them. A Medusa wants to carve statues in the likeness of one of the player characters, and this starts to grow into something far more insidious. But it's introduced early into the adventure. Heck, even a squire or young farm boy or young princess or something like that looks up to one or more of the player adventuring party, and they start dressing like them and acting like them and training. And as the player characters advance in levels, so too does this other individual. Now, we during world building we talked about twin cities and having literally twins in another city that are identical to yourself, but maybe just there's something about this new realm. Of course, you have distant lands and distant things. Maybe there's just something about this other realm where it's not a biological twin, but maybe there's someone else that lives in that world that is a twin of the player characters, and anyone that visits, somehow, some way, there is a twin that exists of them on the other side of the the twin peaks of the barrier mountains or something like that, right? I'm conflating two things there, but you get what I'm saying. They go to another realm. Player characters get there. All of a sudden, the locals are like, "Oh, you've returned," or "We didn't expect you to be here so shortly," and the player characters are kind of taken aback, like, we've never been here before. Why do they recognize us? And maybe there's a whole other twin world going on, on the other side of literally on the other side of the world. Dead Man puts in the Dusk Till Dawn. The Gecko family consists of criminals and it has only two surviving members, Seth and Richie. Seth and Richie Gecko. There isn't much known about the Gecko family in the films. Much like, yeah, twin brothers or twin family members, where you have the good one, bad one, or the intelligent one, the brutal one. I mean, intelligent one or civil one, feral one, I guess is more accurate. Yep, con artists that impersonate the party, or heck, even there's the single identity but multiple people using that same identity. I could imagine an assassin slash thieves guild, or even player character party or NPC party that they are skilled in all of them having fake identities, but each of them can step into the fake identity when they wish. I could imagine a group of doppelgangers doing this exact same thing, where there are 7 identities, fake identities scattered around this town, but there's 3 doppelgangers, each of them sharing in the identity when they need to hide amongst the people. I could, yeah, yep. Rickard says shape changer that is an admirer and perform deeds as one of the party members to make them more famous. Yeah, of course. Why not? I know monster manuals and players' handbooks and things like that list creatures as like chaotic evil, lawful evil, or whatnot. But even in those books, they say they are guidelines, and personality trumps the guide of what an alignment is. And just because something is lawful or chaotic and or evil doesn't mean that they can't be admirers of the player characters, right? And that's kind of a strange twist, to have a doppelganger be an admirer of one of the player characters and still be evil. They don't want to hurt the player character at all. Matter of fact, they love what they do. They're their admirer. They are their obsessive obsessive stalker that only wants to see them succeed. And just because they're eliminating the enemy of the player characters, they're doing a good thing, right? Dead Man says from Dusk Till Dawn wiki There isn't much known about the Gecko family. The family's full of criminals. Back in the 80s and 90s, Richie had set their house on fire and killed his and Seth's father. Afterwards, they were taken in by Eddie, and and he trains them in everything he knows about the criminal world. Seth and Richie have done 35 jobs before Seth's incarceration, and Richie later broke him out. Yeah, I mean, bringing twins back together. A player character is on a mission to recover, rescue, absolve, redeem a twin that's been lost. Tying, we thought of this before about tying mechanical bits and pieces of either NPCs, monsters, or PCs to their capabilities. Two twins being the warlock patron of the other twin, or hell, being the why warlocks, clerics, you know, the cleric domain of family devotion, where their devotion to each other is what grants them their ability to do the thing. It could be a very powerful thing in this world, and might not even be limited to the player characters. It might be how a hag or an ogre magi or oni or something gains its power. Maybe a rakshasa is only able to be in the physical world on a prime material because they themselves exist simultaneously somewhere else as a twin of themselves engaging in these things. Much like how demons and celestials, fiends and celestials, when you slay them on a prime material, they go back home. The same could be done for there. Yep, Rickard says twin gods, but with different portfolios. The clerics don't really know which portfolio they will be granted access to each day. I love that. As a matter of fact, you could claim in many ways that's more the norm than the exception. And I don't mean just twin gods, right? Apollo and Artemis, Frey and Freya for Norse gods. And you can go on and on. I think there's Egyptian twin gods, but the idea of twin gods themselves, whether they are portrayed as biological twins, brother sister, brother brother sister sister kind of thing, or they are portrayed as the equal and opposite. So a cleric might have the domain of, let's say, life and death, right? And one twin is all darkness and death, the other twin is all life and love, and maybe each day or randomly, when the cleric, after a short and or long rest, they don't know which favor they will gain from which twin, but they have access to those abilities, which I think that's a great trade-off. Like, it's random which domain you'll get, but you have access to both domains, and so you might have two separate spell lists depending on what your belief is, and you have your short rest, long rest, you pray, or the gods just come to you, and your cleric, one day has their white cloak on, and the inside of the white cloak is all black, but on the outside it's like white and bleached, and when they awaken, the other allies look at them and they see the cleric take the cloak and flip it around so it's all black on the outside and white on the inside. They go, "Yep, switched over. Okay. Yep. Oh, thank you, dead man. Yep, twins in mythology. Yep, twins appear in the mythologies of many cultures around the world. In some, they are seen as ominous, and in others, they are seen as auspicious. A lot of times, usually both as well, right? Nut and Geb, dualistic twins, god of earth, which is Geb, and goddess of the sky, which is Nut. I'm probably mispronouncing that, butchering it. Osiris and Isis. Yep, twin. Osiris, Isis, twins and husband, lord of the underworld, firstborn of Geb and Nut, one of the most important gods of Egypt. Absolutely. Isis, daughter of Geb and Nut, twin of Osiris. And Osar, also known by Macedonian Greeks as Osiris, a twin of Set. Yep. Pronounced Nut. It's pronounced Nut. I told you I was butchering it. But yeah, twin gods are a thing. And maybe you could do this randomly. Maybe you give the player, you've created your pantheon of gods, and instead of a player character picking one of the godlings, they pick the twins as their domain, and you could very easily reskin one domain as the hell. You could just take make up your own domain and call it the twin gods of life and death, or darkness and light, or whatever. The sun and the moon doesn't matter. You could do that. The twin gods of twinning. So everything that the clerics do, they're somehow done in tandem or something. So you could just all you have to do really is just reskin a domain spell list and come up with a new way to reframe, channeling or something. So instead of only having a darkness domain or death domain and a life and light domain, you just erase certain things. Oh, you have the access to the light spell and darkness spell. You have access to, a healing spell and a necrotic spell, radiant spell and necrotic spell. And yeah, you're done. Or the same thing goes with elemental things, right? You have access to heat and cold. You have access to the earth and the sky, whatever, so on and so forth. And I would absolutely allow a player character to bring that to the table, or make it up and put it in the world, right? Yeah, Rickard says a slight reflavoring of the two domain things. Trickster twin gods, some incantations, but connected to two vastly different effects, like say mass heal and fireball. Yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah. You could even you could take one ability and reskin, say, the damage that comes from it, right? Like I have fireball and I also have frost sphere or something. Yeah, I hear you, Rickard. Like I cast, roll randomly. Okay, I need a mass heal, 50% chance. Damn it, fireball. Yeah, that's maybe we're getting a little too chaos blooded sorcerer there, but yeah, at the whim of the gods. Sorry. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Now, the the other. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the why is nothing coming forward? Um, Scott Poe brought up the Gecko Brothers and says seasons are the oh yeah, talking about the seasons are the pomegranate underworld story. The I could see, especially when it comes with twins as well. Maybe there are twin gods that must take each other's places, so it doesn't necessarily need to be. You don't have to have this be this randomized Gonzo kind of thing. A The gods that switch places with each other for a particular reason, where during spring and summer the cleric has access to one domain, and then fall and winter they have access to another domain. It would probably be very common, especially in a hearth and harvest kind of world, being part of a pantheon as well. And I could even see with a trickster god that it's not necessarily all fun and games and tricking things, but maybe it's a desire for the trickster god for the servants to portray themselves as certain types of people for their divinity, right? So they are supposed to either fit in a certain type of society or live their lives a certain way. I suppose if you want to get a little bit gender politics on this, you could even have male, female godlings that expect their parishioners, their faithful, to portray themselves as one gender over a period of time over another gender, and that just happens to be part of their faith, not having any mechanical effects. But this could be a if you want to incorporate this as an open door to allow one or more people in your gaming group that want to express more of their be free to express some of their delve into some of their gender fluidity without judgment. Maybe this is something that just happens to be a culture in your world, that during the week of something, everyone dresses and acts in female garb and takes that thing, but then when in battle comes in, they take the or during the season the week of something else, they switch or whatever. So yep, the significance of the pomegranate in ancient Greece. The pomegranate features prominently in the story of Persephone and her marriage to Hades, the god of the underworld. Hades kidnapped Persephone and took her to the underworld to be his wife. Persephone's mother, Demeter, goddess of fertility, considering her daughter lost, went into mourning, and thus all things on earth ceased to grow. Zeus, oh my God, Persephone's father commanded his brother Hades to release her. See, here we go. Zeus and Hades is a not necessarily twins, but underworld sky, earth and sky kind of thing. Sky storms commanding, and then you have Hades as the underworld, the dark, the foreboding, where Zeus is more chaotic and wild, maelstrom related. Hades might be considered more static, eternal, unmoving, you know. But anyway, however, Hades has tricked her into eating 6 pomegranate seeds, and it was the rule of the fates that anyone who consumed food or drink in the underworld was doomed to spend eternity there. Since Persephone had eaten the 6 pomegranate seeds, she had to remain in the underworld for 6 months of the year. And next week we're going to talk about food and drink, which I think this is also technically Saturday, but on this Monster Monday anyway. How to that story and pomegranate seeds really does come back into effect, where maybe there are using twins as because this is Monster Monday, maybe there are certain types of omens, meaning like certain spell effects only happen in groups of 2. I lay on hands 2 people at a time. A fruit taken from a tree must be consumed by 2 individuals. Sharing of that fruit because it's a good omen. Guides on the road again, as twins, or even heck, even 2 people who don't even look alike dress alike and act alike because they understand that it's a good omen to do a thing, or culturally to talk to whenever there are diplomatic meetings. You always have pairs of individuals. Instead of 3 against 2, there's always pairs, and in those pairings, diplomatic conversations and parlays happen with individuals that try to look and act as similar to each other. Maybe this somehow brings good tidings, or the 6 months down in the underworld, maybe, just maybe, it makes a lot of sense for noble houses. We know of the concept of where, to establish peace between 2 warring factions, they will give up one of their family members to be kidnapped or held in protected custody by the other family. Maybe giving up of a twin is a thing that is a very common thing to do. A little bit ridiculous, but maybe there's the idea that if you only give one of the twins up, that the family really isn't losing one of their family members because they have the other twin to fall back on. This one paring knife is dull, but I do have another one, so we've got a replacement part or something like that might be a thing as well, in this world or whatever. And the weakness, you could incorporate a very powerful monster or adversary in the world if the player characters are able to get to the twin of that very powerful being. So maybe 1st to 3rd level characters, you really want to incorporate what's a really good powerful. Let's say Rakshasa, right? And you want to include the Rakshasa in the game world. Mind you, an encounter with Rakshasa with a 1st level party doesn't need to be battle. It's just an encounter. They can talk, they can parlay, they could be, connived and intimidated or whatever. But maybe for some reason, the Rakshasa has a a twin somewhere else living in the world who has zero interest in engaging in machinations and abusing people, just wants to live their life. I just want to be a bazaar owner. I just want to be a hermit. I just want to live my life. Please leave me alone. And maybe the player characters are able to uncover specific details about one enemy by finding the twin of their enemy and then finding out their weaknesses, some of their behaviors, maybe even some background or some information. And you can turn what normally would be murder hoboism into a mystery or an investigation or something, interrogation or whatever. As long as they don't take Nook in, I'm okay with them taking Mook. Are you talking about the? It doesn't matter, but you are. It's the idea of like. I hear you. You're like, which twin's the better twin? Eh, take the left Twix. We want to keep right Twix here at home, which I don't know that would kind of send a message if Nook and Mook, Nook and Mook are the one of the twins that's being taken for parlay, and the whole family's like, no, take Nook, and that twin is like, damn, you guys have hated me that much? Wow. Thanks for letting me know. And then of course hilarity ensues when now that the twin has been kicked out of the house to be taken by the rival family, maybe they start working with the other rival family against their own family, but now they want to save their twin, and of course lots of other things happen as well. Also, one great thing about having twins in parity with the player characters is if you ever need an adversary, you just copy a player character sheet and make that your bad guy, right? And the very excuse of that would be, especially if the player character knows there's a big bad evil guy out there that's exactly like them, the excuse is, wow, they're just as powerful as we are. Why is that? And the player character just shakes their head like, well, because that's what I would do. That's what. Hey, if I'm doing it, they're doing the same thing. So, yeah, I get it. And also kind of surprising when a player character draws out their +5 flaming Holy Avenger Vorpal sword and cling gets blocked by their enemy with a black flamed unholy avenging short sort of sharpness or something like that, right? And they're like, why is, and of course may have some players when the table flip like, that's stupid, you're trying to nerf my character, blah, flip, and you're like, no, I foreshadowed this is your twin. And mind you, twins don't have to be born. Yes, there are people who are born, but magic could have done the thing, stepping through a portal and you were split in two. Fey creatures may like to play a trick on one or more of the player characters by creating duplicates of them. Maybe there is a forest glade with a druidic cult that's doing an invasion of the body snatchers kind of thing, where there are plants that are birthing little babies that grow to adulthood in mere months, weeks, days by watering them, that come out naked to look exactly like the people who are invading the dark forests, and now they're going into the towns, much like plant-based doppelgangers by druidic and fey cults or something. Yeah, I combined a whole lot of hell of a lot into one thing there, into one sentence there, but you get my point. Twinning doesn't have to be by birth. It could be by accident, chaos storms, going into, it's a remnant of it's a residue after the player characters go into the outer planes and they go into planescape and go into pandemonium and they go there and they're duplicated. Maybe it's a side effect of a player character who is an illusionist or shape changer, and you want to pull on a thread when they always use mirror image, and they're always using alter self, and they're always, casting their voice far away, and they're always using disguise, and maybe, just maybe, by accident, just a little bit, or pulling upon the trickster god, like plays a trick on the player character, like, it'll be fun. I'm gonna drop a copy of you right into the world, just to see what would happen. Or, hell, a trickster god could even do this amongst a party for no other reason than to test them. I'm gonna place twins in the world and see which one is, all things being equal, who's going to rise to the surface, who's going to be the cream of the crop, right? Yeah, Scott Post says the evil twin Ash was born of out of a fight scene between Ash and the evil's twin doppelgangers. He ate one and it grew to full size as a Siamese twin that pulled free. Yeah, I was. You can get kind of dark with twinning, right? Like the I strike the bad guy in half and then it splits apart into two kind of thing. I can imagine trolls doing that, splitting a troll in half and the troll grows into two exact duplicates of itself. A monster that consumes an individual and then either extrudes or turns into that person after consuming them, or a monster that eats a bestial creature that eats something or someone, and then a pus-filled bump grows on its back that ends up growing into a full-fledged doppelganger that ends up, popping out of its pus-filled sack to enter into the world. I can imagine something like that being in the outer planes, but it could live in a prime material plane quite easily. Summoned there, fed by the mother that raised it, an old hag out in the deep swamp or whatnot. Ogre says, a temple has a purification portal you step through, but it's actually just a portal that splits up the good and the bad parts of a character to two twins. Ooh, I like that. And maybe the temple doesn't even know the full function and only know of one of the exits from the portal. Yeah, you know what? What a great, I mean, a arcane religious organization might be creating its own holy warriors and parishioners. Here's the test. You step through the portal. When you come out the portal, you are good and just and righteous. And they're like, good job, great. Not understanding that on the other side is an equal and opposite of you to do battle with you. I mean, that could literally be the first. That could be the opening scene of a player character's origin story. Stepped out of the portal, and now I'm a paladin. And out there in the world, they, with night sweats and terrors or meditation or something, they have a connection with their equal and opposite. And maybe the connection with their equal and opposite isn't as adversarial as we would like to think, as they each try to communicate with each other over really long distances. And this communication happens from like first level to 20th level. Yeah, Trickster God might be the twin just for the lutz of it. Yeah. I mean, how we often don't incorporate the true gods on Earth idea, but a trickster god pretending to be one of the player characters just for the shits and giggles. Yeah. Tesla Ranger puts in. Yeah, Ogre says it could be a way to create paladins. Yeah, maybe there's, maybe character class. Maybe there, for some reason in this world, a character class isn't something you train for. It's something you step through. A lowly farmer, or blacksmith, or someone who's been injured, or killed, or I mean not killed, but those who, what is it? The meek shall inherit the earth. Someone who's suffering from the plague or something is brought before the great portal, and you will either step through and will be consumed by its power, or you will be reborn or recast into a greater person. And the person barely gets to their feet, steps through the portal, and boom, the portal flashes, and they come back out as a third level paladin, replete with all high attributes and everything. Maybe that's the origin. Why not? Why the hell not? Maybe Fightor isn't something you train for. Maybe Fightor is something you become. Sure, I'm a zero level warrior with regular skills, but to become Fightor, uh, I step through the portal to become this other thing. But I understand that while I am this thing, my counterpart is somewhere else, and what? Yeah, Tesla puts in Kirk, the enemy within episode. A transporter malfunction splits Captain Kirk into two people, one good and one evil with a goatee, neither capable of functioning well separately. Which, in a strange way, what a great idea to. Oftentimes, the unchosen twin, the split asunder twin, where they're unable to function without the other. What a great way to have your player character be the opposite function of the other twin. So, for example, your good paladin or warlock or whatever summon is good, but they're summoning their abilities from their twin counterpart somewhere else, whereas the evil counterpart is summoning their abilities from the good counterpart that is the player character, which might be an excuse for why one player is unable to arrive at the table all the time. So why did so and so disappear? He's a good person even though his warlock patron is evil. And it's like, well, sister summoned him away, you know, and to perform some kind of deed. Whereas when the player returns, they are good, but their powers look fiendish because their evil counterpart is granting them those abilities or something like that, right? And it could be a philosophical difference, like I'm here to save the world, and the evil counterpart is like, so am I, but you need to be able to you need to cut out the infection, which is the human population, if you want to do good. Yeah, there we go. Star Wars. I mean Star Trek with the Second Chances episode with the twin Reicherts. Yeah. Yeah. Ogre says I think Riker had a similar transporter accident, even though that case it was just two duplicates, no evil twin. Well, the divergence of twins is also a trope you could pull off of. It doesn't need to be evil, like good or evil. It could be two individuals, both of them good, but they lead completely different lives. Maybe two twins living on the streets, orphans or something, living on the streets. One gets pulled into a life of crime, while the other one runs away to join finds solace and protection with some goodly people in their religious organization. So now one is a criminal, the other one's good, but they fundamentally they're the same. They just they go about it in two different ways. Scott Poe says a wizard tower could have a mirror or evil twins. Evil wizards that are doing the same things, but philosophically they might be different. And if you have a player at the table, even who gets very antsy, has a little bit of and I'm not meaning to make fun, but they are the ADHD of character creation. Maybe they create two player characters. One, the goodly. I'm picking with paladins and assassins here and stuff like that, rogues or whatever. But the player makes two characters, and whenever they return to a particular location, they switch off of one character to the other character because they get bored very easily, and maybe they're just playing twins of each other. The paladin goes on a pilgrimage to atone for their deeds in this battle, and the twin brutal assassin joins the group, knowing that they want to protect the sanctity of their twin that goes off to atone for their crimes. And the twin rogue joins the group and is like, no, I'm coming with you guys. You're going to destroy his soul. I'll martyr myself before I let my twin have to suffer through doing such harsh and evil things. I'll be here. I mean that. It's also a great excuse to have evil in a party of good people, right? The evil person's like, the only reason I'm joining you is to protect my cousin or my brother or my hell, not even biological twin, but my brother and sister in arms. We don't know. We met each other from across the world, but we are one and the same. And there's no way in hell I'm gonna let you guys allow my counterpart to to um, to break their morality, to compromise their morals or ethics or something like that. I'm here to make sure you don't do it. You want somebody to kill somebody? You ask me first, kind of thing. And that's a good idea. That's a great way to have a loyal person to have conflict in the game, in with an evil person walking along with some goodly characters. Why? Because they're loyal to the group. Because if they're deciding to go with you, then I'm with them because I'm related to them or I'm bonded with them or et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, record says forced twins, two entities that get tied to one another, so they suffer if the other entity suffers, etc. I'm with you on that one as well. The I suppose if you want to go super out there, like the celestial and fiend beings, that if one dies, the other one suffers. But the same could happen with a group of hags or other kind of monsters where they feel each other's pain, and the as a matter of fact, it could be a curse of some sort. So I don't know, a an example could be, a young man is suffering from a disease. That disease is transforming, you know, his brother, who happens to be a troll out there in the wilderness. And so to the one cure the one victim who's bedridden is to capture the other one who's being mutated at the same time, or vice versa, right? Those are ways to have some, you know, flip a little bit of the evil monster. Let's just kill the evil monster. Forced twinning could combine two people together to limit someone's capabilities, like um, wizardry is controlled because in order for you to cast your magic, one of your twins will suffer and lose their life. The more magic you cast, the greater life you drain from your twin counterpart. And the wizards are like, "No, why did we agree to this?" And maybe there are some wizards that are like, screw it. Eh, We don't need two of me. I'll just kill my twin. Where there are other communities that are like, you know what? Yeah, no, don't do that. Um, Heck, you could even have, like I mentioned before, previously, instead of a spell book, a wizard or arcane caster or something garners their spells from their interaction with their own twin, which is the could be the forced limiting factor or in gaining their capabilities in the first place, right? Instead of the classic wizard reading a book and studying, maybe that magic comes from the bond of two people. And that bond doesn't necessarily need to be a quid pro quo, right? They don't have to be two wizards. One's the fighter, the other's the wizard. Both of them have arcane power. One is just expressed in martial ability. The other one's expressed in magic, but they gain their magic from each other. Um, and that combination could be in physical contact. That combination could just be meditation, or for some reason they just both happen to fall asleep and meditate at the exact same time, and they converse with each other across long distances, if for no other reason to recenter themselves with each other, and then boom, I get a second wind. Why do I get a second wind? Because my twin is standing behind me as an ephemeral image, helping me up off the ground. Why does my why do I get uh, uh why does my character have a second um action? What is it, action surge? Well, my action surge actually looks like my twin arrives as a ghostly image, drawing a sword as I draw my sword and striking my enemy beside me, so I get two actions. I believe in the new release of the Critical Role Wild Mount, there is a fighter subclass that is able to create their own like duplicate shadowy echo or something, the Echo Knight or something, which could be their own twin, whether it's their own twin with them, their own twin from far away. Yeah. Rickard says, "Ooh, to be a mage, you have to twin your soul to an ethereal being, kind of like a warlock, but the bond goes both ways." Yeah, and mind you, listen, I know we love the word warlock, but let's not use the words and phrases, the terminology to limit our capabilities, right? A wizard could very well operate exactly as a warlock does. It isn't. It's not about. Well, for one, it could be about arcane study, but instead, a portion or the splitting of your soul goes to some ethereal world where you study magic, or it is entrenched for by force or choice with an otherworldly or distant being who grants your soul the power, and then that transfers into your physical power where you stand before the party members. But like you said, it works the opposite way, where out there in the world, hey, I went from sixth level to seventh level, and the player characters are going, you do realize there is a seventh level person with the same exact capabilities as you, because they're drawing the power from you, so you're drawing the power from them. And everyone's like, yeah, this isn't a good thing. Like, players like, hey, I get to choose Fireball. And they're all like, oh, great, you get to choose Fireball. Damn it. you know? That would be a great excuse to really flip the power dynamic. So an enemy twin fights the player characters, and the player character could expend a spell slot, not cast Fireball, but to uncast the other person's Fireball, right? The equal and opposite power, where you see two people of equal opposite power blasting each other or facing each other or psychically battling each other, and their powers equalized. Maybe that's a thing. That kind of a kick in the gonads if the player character's like, yeah, I get Fireball, I'm going to cast it, and Game Master rolls dice and goes, yeah, no, you don't. Your twin sucks it up, unravels the weave, and makes it their own Fireball, and they're like, damn it, But yeah, I mean, doubling up on creatures, doubling up on their tactics, having an emotional bond amongst your adversaries could pull on the heartstrings of your player characters. The one black dragon crying, distraught over the death of their twin. Maybe someone's evil machinations are for no other reason than to save their life, or release their twin from capture, from a disease, poison, healing, injury, corruption. That kind of thing. Yeah, Rickard says, hell, you could make wizards the reverse of a warlock. Yeah, my warlock patron is a wizard, right? That's why wouldn't a warlock patron be a mortal physical wizard somewhere else in the world? That makes perfect sense to me. That actually sounds like I know fiends and celestials and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, you could make a warlock patron of just about anything or anyone. Just reflavor it and you're done. Pick some new spells, give it some new flavor. Hell, you don't even need to remake anything. Same thing with sorcerers as well, right? Yeah, Rickard says, so warlocks bind themselves to an entity. Wizards might have their spell focus now be the contract with the entity. Oh, I like that. Yeah, the contract. Why? Why every time I unroll the contract, it gets longer and longer? And the contract person's like, well, you have more spells and capabilities. Why do you have a problem? And they're like, because every time there's 30 feet of like fine print here. Why does it keep going? You are getting more powerful. Ignore the fine print. you know? But yeah, why wouldn't a wizard's contract be their spell focus? Okay. My spell focus is my sister. Okay. Now mind you, it doesn't necessarily physically need to be this person hanging around with you, going adventuring. It could be, I wear a locket around my chest that is a symbol of my connection with my twin, and that's where my capabilities come from. What class are you? Oh, I'm Ranger. Oh, okay, all right. But my sister is my patron who gives me my capabilities. She's kind of fey touched, and it's not really my skill. It's just basically me calling upon her to help me out, and her ephemeral, ethereal image comes to me and heals people. It's not me healing anyone. It's her that arrives, that lays their hands upon people. It's just me, beseeching her gifts, and she's always there for me, and I really appreciate it, right? And that's a great way to even have some social interaction amongst your simple gaming stats, right? That's a great thing. Oh, Rickard says I was thinking more in reverse, that the wizard is the one holding the contract with an ethereal entity, where Warlock is the one who signed the contract with the ethereal entity. Ooh, oh, so I apologize. Well, I thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken. Meaning, like, the wizard forced another entity, here it comes, excuse me, to sign a contract with the wizard. So now the wizard is taking their power and forcing their power from the otherworldly entity to give them their capabilities, which I like it. That could be a long-term inroads as to why the player characters have a connection to some distant land or to some otherworldly power, because the pit fiend made the mistake of thinking it could outthink the wizard, and the wizard actually tricked him, like much like Constantine tricked the demons into battling over his soul, and the wizard is like, to get out of this, you got to sign right here. They're pit fiend, and the pit fiend's like, damn it, where's the ink pen? Click, 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 sign. And now the wizard's like, I've got your power now. Great. Well, instead of the wizard getting their spell slots back from study and concentration, it's the wizard berating the pit fiend like, you need to come here for a minute. Didn't we make a deal? Yeah, we made a deal. I need my power now. Now I'm taking a short rest, but I need you to know that you're always going to be here, right? You know, I got documentation right here. You want me to let everybody know that you signed this? No. Hey, I'm only first level. You know that's embarrassing, right? Yeah, you're right. All right, here's some power. Scott Post says, I've always wanted to write this guy an Etten where the smart head sought powerful magic, but accidentally became a knocker, while the dumber head then cried out to some dark force and became Warlock. Ooh, that's a cool thing to make instead of the dumb and stupid Etten. I don't know I think some of the lore, they're basically not much more than like cavemen or something. But I always thought you could do much more with the whole Etten two-headed being idea. Hell, you could just reskin a creature, any number of creatures, as two-headed, snatch some of the capabilities from an Etten, and make a two-headed fiend, some other two-headed giants, two-headed dragon. Hell, or like you said, I'll give the Etten a 17 intelligence and make one a wizard and the other, a warlock. Make one head something, make the other head of something. And of course, they have two hands, and if they can do two spell-like effects, or one's the warrior, one's the caster, hell yeah, I love that. After passing the twin peaks of the Barrier Mountains, in this other realm, two-headed Ettins might be the norm instead of the exception. Multiple armed individuals, the people born with a twin inside of themselves might be the norm instead of the exception. So I like that as well. Of course, you can get a little bit more disgusting with like someone who was born, but they have I don't, that's not disgusting, more mutative, I guess. The inside of them is the living, breathing, thinking, fetus-sized, um, semi-mutated twin of themselves in their chest, or they're growing off of their back or something like that. That could be a way to twist a cloaked figure. Maybe you have you want to combine, I don't know, hell, I want to reskin a naga, but instead I'm just going to make it I'm going to, instead of a snake-like being, I'm just going to make it a person who's a cloak who cast a dark ritual, but that dark ritual put this other being up in their chest, which grants them their magic. So maybe like even a player character might even have a cloak, and they open up their robe or something, and instead on their chest are like beady eyes and little stunted hands or something, and that's how they cast their magic. Heck, that might even be how they lay on hands or something. And other players are like, please don't touch me with that. And the little thing in the chest is like, you think you're disgusting. I've got to sit around and smell your navel all the time. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for hell, shit, just being here on a Saturday. I understand, yes, this is a Monster Monday episode. I will end up putting it into the playlist for as a Monday episode. So twice as nice. Twice as nice, guys. Twice as nice. So anyway, thank you guys very much for just being here. I will pop into the Discord. I won't be there as long as I normally have. But again, thank you so much. Please have a doubly nice day. Those of you out there who might watch the show with your twin, call them up if you haven't spoken to them in a while, and let them know that at least for a whole week someone decided to talk about you and yours. And for anyone out there who feels that they have a bonded pair with someone out there, I'm happy for you. Everyone have a great day. Stay safe. Social distance and the whole 9 yards. I'll see you later. Bye. Thanks for watching.